All right, so I recently spent a decent chunk of time with the Division beta, and despite being an avid follower of this game since 2013 when it was released, I think I finally understand the game enough. I have enough of a handle on the game to talk about it in detail. Before I get going, a lot of people out there comparing this game to Destiny. Nothing like Destiny, but I'm not going to talk about how this game is or is not like Destiny in this video. If you want to hear my thoughts and comparisons on that, go check out the article I wrote on somethingwickedstudios.net. It's a full breakdown of how it does and doesn't stack up against Destiny, and maybe if you're a Destiny player, maybe some things to be worried about coming into this game. Or maybe not. Read the article, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But yeah, so, The Division. Like I said, I've been pretty avidly following this game since its announcement, but it's been kind of hard doing that between the weird self-imposed media blackout Ubisoft has had on this game, the delays, there really hasn't been that much shown of this game aside from some stunning but not really useful trailers, and it was nice to finally get some hands-on time aside from the E3 2015 time I had with it, which was just kind of competitive multiplayer. So, The Division is very much an RPG cover shooter hybrid. It's kind of like Mass Effect in that regard, where you have active abilities you pull out in the field, but it's much more combat-driven, a la Gears of War, and I know it may be weird me saying don't compare it to stuff, and I'm doing it right off the bat, but that's what the combat is like. It's very much guns and the occasional ability, and that's a cool mix, especially because the game offers the beta did not show it, a lot of it was actually hidden away behind blurred out screens that said, oh, not available in the beta. There are a ton of abilities and talents and perks and kind of RPG elements of the game's beta went in no detail to talk about, which sucked, but it was cool to see that they were there. There's no class system to the game. It's very much build your own. Initially, when I heard this, I was a tad concerned we'd all fall into the trap of, well, this is the best build. Well, within the best build, there's still modifications on those skills. They only unlocked one set of mods in the beta I got to play, which was you had this pulse move that detected stuff, and you could then set it up to do extra damage against detected enemies, have it detect way further, I think, or have it tag lootable environments and items in the environment and stuff like that. 3 variations on the same thing, and then you could also stack them with your team to do other stuff, but more on the teamwork later. So the beta itself was pretty limited. There's only really a story and a half mission mode, or story missions, that's what I'm looking for in it, which I'd have liked a couple more, but at the same time, this was supposed to be a sampling, and it very much feels like a sampling. It did force me to explore the open world that is The Division, and The Division's open world feels very much like a traditional open world game of this nature. It's a big, lived-in world that could use a tad more population with things. I definitely had some annoying downtime where I'd be walking from point A to point B where just nothing would happen, really. There's some collectibles, there's some random occurrences, there's some enemies that pop up at random. There just didn't seem to be enough, really, and I'm sure with more story missions and more encounters and more of that stuff going on, this complaint will be a non-thing. But it is worth noting that there was a lot of just kind of empty feeling space, and especially because, for all intents and purposes, when you are in the normal traditional PvE environment, unless you're in someone else's game or they're in yours, you're not going to run into any other players. It's a kind of weird, solitary, lonely feeling. But then at the same time, your friends did show up on the map, so you could jump into their games. It's weird, they're trying to straddle the line between a functional single-player game, where there's not enough open-world bullshit then, and also a very MMO-feeling game where you can see your friends and jump in with them. And on the MMO topic, the city I got to play with was divided into zones. There was a 1 to 5 and a 5 to 8 zone, and then there were some walled off behind red walls of death, 10 to 15 higher level zones. It seems that New York City is very much segmented into level-specific areas, and I would guess that the higher level you go into, the more dangerous it is to be out and about, which might, again, solve some of my complaints about not that much stuff to encounter. But I digress some. On the social aspect of the game, each of the instance missions you can have has a little bit of a matchmaking property to it, and they have adjustable levels, which are cool. The higher level I played once or twice was just, it took enemies that were already bullet sponges and made them just ridiculous bullet sponges. I'm sure I'd be complaining less if I had better gear at the time, but I'm not a fan of how bullet spongy the enemies are, and this is very much a game that confuses difficulty with just more enemy health. Maybe at higher level stuff that won't be the case, but again, just something worth noting. A little worried about that part of it. Once you had better gear, the enemy bullet sponginess did go away, at least in the normal settings. But yeah, you're gonna be running into enemies that take a surprising number of shotgun rounds to the head. Before I move on, though, there was a social hub, if you will, in the beta. It was kind of this opening camp area where other players did spawn in, but they were in no other part of the city unless they were in my game or I was in theirs. It's a weird system, I guess, where it kind of, in my mind, it would make more sense to have just players randomly roaming around the PvE environment of the division, but I kind of get what they're going for, too. It's a very controlled feeling at that point. And when you do jump in with a friend or they jump in with yours, you can go a surprising amount of distance. Like, you don't even have to be in the same area and you're still in the same game. The open world is surprisingly persistent, which is cool. So you've heard me say the phrase PvE a bunch and referring to parts of New York City. There's also something called the Dark Zone. That's a hybrid of PvE and PvP. Whereas there are PvE enemies, there's AI-controlled enemies in there, but also it's where other agents of human play or other human players will spawn in with you, and this is where it gets interesting because it is a PvP zone. It's not necessarily a PvP zone, though. You can choose to play nice and not shoot each other, or you can go rogue and gun each other down and steal your loot. And the best loot does come from the Dark Zone, and taking down a rogue agent does net you a lot of Dark Zone experience and currency. Oh yeah, you have two levels. You have your Dark Zone level, which is influenced some by your normal level, which only really seems to matter in controlling gear and what abilities you do and don't have unlocked. What the levels actually mean is kind of confusing and also might ultimately wind up being meaningless by the end of the game once you are far enough into the game where everything is unlocked. In the Dark Zone, there were chests I couldn't open because I wasn't a high enough Dark Zone level, which was weird and annoying. But I digress back to the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone is in many ways the most interesting part of the Division. It's this very World of Warcraftian mix of you can choose to play nice in a PvP environment, or you can make life a living hell for other players. And that's the one actual knock I have against the Dark Zone, is that there seemed to be some real PvP misbalancing. I'm not sure, maybe I'm not good enough with the game to really be competitive yet, but there were times where I'd get killed from halfway across the map, or I'd empty all like 7 shells of a shotgun into another player and they wouldn't go down. Stuff happened that felt shitty, and that's a problem. I hope it's fixed in the main game, and I'm sure it will be, but like, for example, in the PC version of the Division's beta, there was just rampant hacking issues in the Dark Zone, and that could really ruin the experience because half the fun of the Dark Zone is the paranoia you have about other players, where you all are kind of warily trusting each other because it's the Wild West of the game. If someone sees you pick up something they think might be good gear, they could kill you and take your gear if they think they can take you. And the time I spent in the Dark Zone was some of the most nerve-wracking I've had in a game because you don't trust anything that moves, and you're constantly scanning other players. It's like this moment of, okay, maybe they will take this as a sign of aggression. I need to make sure they're not rogue, though, too. And on the topic of rogue, I have a bit of an issue with that system as well, where I'd be engaged in a firefight with the PvE enemies, and then I'd throw a grenade, and another agent that wasn't part of my group would then run into the grenade blast radius by accident, and I'd kill him and get tagged as rogue. I like the rogue system. I like the implications of the rogue system. I'm not sure I like how sensitive the rogue system was. Like, there were times where I'd swore I accidentally shot someone and they were fine, or like I said, they'd run to my grenade by accident. It would kill them, which made sense, but at the same time, it's like, no, I wasn't being malicious. That was a mistake. I had a lot of fun with the beta, despite it being so small, and I feel like I got a really good taste of the game, and I'm really excited for what may come of the Division. It has just an ungodly amount of promise, despite my gripes, like downtime in between objectives and how empty the open world felt. Like, all of these things are also things that are indicative of beta. Like, if they just cranked the number of enemies that were about up and tuned up the Dark Zone some, this could be a damn impressive game. It already is a fairly impressive game, and I'm not being fair to it. It does so much right. In a world of very frenetic combat, the game chooses to have a very tactical, methodical, plotting combat system that when you pull off the ultimate kind of tactical moves with your teammates, there's no more badass feeling. Like, some of the best moments in the game for me came when I was playing with some of my friends, and we would just do something that was cool. Like, we'd perfectly sweep a room, or we worked as a team perfectly, and those were awesome moments that no other game out there really generates in the same way. I I'm very impressed with the Division's beta. I can't wait to play more of it. I get the impression there's another beta coming up in the near future. I may not actually touch that because I don't want to burn myself out on the Division. I want to go in as fresh as possible and kind of really get a chance to experience the Division as it's meant to be with wide open, confused eyes. I'm hoping they do a better job of explaining a bunch of things. I'd have loved to have seen more of stuff like the character customization and some more of the RPG elements. Like, the amount of stuff that was locked away in the beta both makes sense and is a damn shame because I'd have loved to have known more about the less obvious and conventional parts of the game. But with all that being said, if you're looking forward to the Division, keep looking forward to it. If you're a little curious about it, hopefully this video has opened up your eyes some. It's been helpful. I hope it has, at least. There's plenty of new media out there. I'm sure a bunch of other YouTubers are covering this game like it's wildfire. If you like tactical shooters, this is a game that should be on your radar. If you like loot shooters, it should probably be on your radar. If you have a good group of gaming friends, this game should absolutely be on your radar. If you're looking for a fast-paced Halo, Destiny, Call of Duty style game, maybe look into this game a little more. You might not enjoy the pace of it and just kind of the overall functionality. But yeah, I've talked your ear off plenty. I cannot say enough good things about it. I've been very impressed by the beta. So yeah, I cannot wait for March, and see you all online.
Something Wicked Studios.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up down below, you share us with all your friends, and you subscribe to the channel. If you're looking for more videos right now, we've got a whole bunch of ones all over the channel you can get to by the links below. If you hit the random button, I promise to send you to a good one. You know you want to. Press it. Press it.